Greetings, brothers. How you guys doing? Thanks for tuning in this Sunday. Appreciate you guys coming to hang out. Yeah, if you can tell me the audio levels are fine, that'd be great. If someone could just say in the chat you can hear me fine, because I guess we had a couple of audio issues yesterday. If you caught the Codex stream, and I know I was thinking when I got off the stream yesterday in the Codex stream, I'm sorry if I didn't get to all your questions. There was a lot of questions, and also it was kind of difficult, I guess, having a guest on for the first time. So, I guess questions in the chat today, and we'll try and make sure we get to more of the questions in the chat based on just yesterday was difficult. But I hope the Codex show yesterday showed or shared you some decent value. Looking at just the rules, peeking out a little bit. All right, maybe the microphone's too close. Thanks, Highland. So yeah, I was going to be organised today, trying to be. So the lists we're looking at today, we've got 5 lists again, as normal. And these are by D. King, Mark Curtin, Mika, PJ Dat 96, and then Balanced Hydra. I guess just 2000 is his number of points. So these are the lists we'll be looking at today, and we'll be trying to see how we feel like. Hey, welcome back, Origin Painting. Thanks a lot. Hello, McLeish. Thanks for tuning in. So yeah, we've got 5 lists to look at today, and I guess we actually have 5 lists already posted for next week, and they were posted all the way back on the 8th was the last one. So lists, and then 2 weeks ahead we get 2 lists. So I guess next Sunday we already got 5, and then I guess the week after that I'm going to do an extra show, I think, if I can fit it in, and just get caught up, so that if people submit lists they don't have to wait quite as long for them to be looked at, because yeah, I guess with the new Codex coming out, there's a lot of people and there's a lot of lists to look at. So, cool. Alright, and then, yeah, I mean, I think in the Codex review yesterday, we touched on a lot of the new rules, and also, like, a couple of the new synergies. So, it was a pretty cool day, and thanks to everybody that tuned in for that. Hey, welcome, Krychek. Welcome, Mark. Welcome, Janice, Mike's. And then Hydra. I'm glad you're here, Hydra. So we're actually going to start with your list, Hydra. I know you're at the bottom of the list, but I have it here open in Battlescribe, so I think it will make sense to start on Hydra's list. And then I guess one thing that I wanted to clarify was I totally made a mistake with the Mephiston video this week. I didn't realise I had made a mistake. Let me just move this camera and actually check this was all good. Yeah, so the mistake I made, we'll grab the Space Marine Codex and just double check it. So if you were thinking of picking the Librarian Dreadnought or Mephiston, the mistake was in this Chief Librarian section up here, where it reads, a model knows 1 additional psychic power from their chosen discipline and can attempt to deny 1 additional power in your opponent's psychic phase. I thought they got to cast 1 as well, so I incorrectly said they can cast 3. I actually used that in a game last week, so I guess that was a bit bad of me. I don't know if I just glanced at this, or I don't know if I just got confused with all the new rules. I'm guessing it's something like that. It has been a lot to take in, so if you are using the Librarian Dreadnought and you do pick Chief Librarian, it's cast 2 and it's deny 2. You'd have to pay 1 CP if you wanted to cast 3. You can still do that. We have that stratagem now, right? Pay 1 CP and cast 3. So, hey from Canada. Welcome, Ollie, as well. Cool. A lot of people jumping on this today, so nice. So yeah, let's start with Hydra's list today. And as always, guys, if you have lists that you want me to look at, I may as well just say this at the start of the stream so that anyone tuning in can find it. You go over to the Blood Angels Commander channel on YouTube, you hit this community tab, and I put up posts in the community tab sort of like once a week or something. Like, I try not to be too spammy with them. I don't know how, I don't really want to be spamming your timelines in YouTube with posts. So I put up a post about once a week, and in these posts, that's the best place to submit an army list. So you just click on the comments here, maybe just make that full screen for a second so it's a bit easier to see. And in here, yeah, you know, someone's actually posted a list here as an example. So if you just post your list into the comments section of the community, that's the easiest place for me to find them. It keeps them all together and I don't have to go hunting for them. And then I guess something else that I've done today. Welcome, Michael. Thanks for tuning in today. I guess if you missed the last couple, I appreciate it. So what I've done, based on what people said to me last week or whatnot, is they wanted to be able to follow along. So I guess to be able to follow along now, all of today's lists are posted in the comment section of today's video. So I guess if you want to scroll down and expand these comment sections, you'll be able to see the list, so you'll know what I'm talking about. And then finally, I haven't done this before, and hopefully it works. So we're going to start with Hydra's list. So I'm going to try and put Hydra's name up here in the top right hand corner. Yeah, so I guess if you're catching up on any of these streams later, because I guess this was if you can't make Sunday stream but you'd still want to tune in later, then now in the top right hand corner here I've put whose list we're looking at. So if I ever forget to update this when we're looking at the next list, please somebody shout in the chat and tell me, hey, you need to update what list we're talking at. But I think this will help if you want to tune in and get the stream later and see the lists and be able to, find them. Hopefully this will make it easier, right? That's my plan anyway. So slowly but surely, welcome Sergeant. Slowly but surely we're trying to improve the production value or make it easier for you guys to catch up on the lists and see what we're talking about. And today I guess is the first list that I'm really starting to get familiar with the Blood Angels Codex, so we can make suggestions on what powers and things we want to start with. So let's start with Hydra's list then, and I guess it's nice and simple. We have a Mephiston. I guess Battle Scribe still isn't updated, so we don't know what powers he's picked, but Mephiston is a good solid choice for us. Maybe slightly weaker than the Librarian Dreadnought, but he does have different uses, right? Like he can go in an Impulsor, and I guess this list has an Impulsor, so that's great. I guess a regular Primaris Lieutenant. This would be the Lieutenant with a pair of Lightning Claws and a Jump Pack. Oh, it's not a Primaris, sorry. It's just a regular Lieutenant with a pair of Lightning Claws and a Jump Pack. And he has an Imperium Sword, so +1 strength, +1 attack when he charges. So I feel like that's going to be quite useful with those rerolled Lightning Claws. And then the Primaris Chaplain on a bike. If you haven't watched the video that I made a few weeks back on this Primaris Chaplain on the bike, I think you would be mad to not buy one or convert one. You can use an Outrider. So he's going to take Wings, Advance, and Shield. Okay. Yeah, I think if you aren't using this Primaris Chaplain on a bike, I think get one. And personally, I think, I'm going to run mine as the Warlord, which he's done here, but I'm also going to run him, same thing, Master of Sanctity, Wise Orator, Mantra of Strength, Benediction of Fury is a Relic weapon, Litany of Faith, I guess, is protection against mortal wounds. Some people might take Canticle of Hate instead. And then the other thing you can do now is you can actually give this guy a second... you can give him a second Warlord trait from the Blood Angels, or you can give him a special issue War Gear from the Blood Angels, which would be the one that springs to mind for the special issue is Adamantium Mantle. This guy is already 5 toughness, 7 wounds, so giving him a 5+ feel no pain is great. Giving him that Gift of Foresight, reroll 1 attack, reroll 1 wound, reroll 1 save is useful as well. I tried that this week and I was a little bit underwhelmed with it. One of his litanies, right, literally lets him reroll all misses, so that makes it a little bit less powerful. And the reroll 1 save I found very difficult to use because your opponent obviously dictates what hits your character in what order, so you never know if you want to reroll that 1 save earlier or later in the turn. It's very difficult, whereas Adamantium Mantle and this guy just giving him a 5+ feel no pain, I feel like is super strong. 5 toughness, 7 wounds, and then a 5+ shrug. He's going to be crazy survivable. I like this Primaris Chaplain on a bike a lot, and I like him as the Warlord with the 2+ litanies. yeah, your litanies just go off all the time as well. It's really strong. Alright, for troops, we have one heavy Intercessor squad, and these guys are going to sit, I guess, probably in the backfield objective. These guys are basically aggressors with the Executioner rifle is like a 42-inch range heavy one, and he's paid the 10 points, so the Sergeant has the heavy version of that rifle, which is 3 damage a shot. It's pretty crazy. And yeah, we were speaking last night. The one thing you could do is you could pay 1 CP and give this Sergeant Quake Bolt, so when he shoots anything that he hits, for the rest of the turn, any melee units that attack that unit get +1 to hit. So this could be, with the 42-inch range, if he has a good line of sight, this could be comboed up really well. Maybe you could put your spreadsheet scores into spider charts, like what the 40k does. Nicer visual, perhaps. Yeah, I mean, Highland, if you want to send me a link to a better way of displaying the spreadsheet scores, that would be totally fine. I would like to keep improving the stream. I mean, I guess that's what I'm trying to do every week. And a couple of infiltrator squads. I mean, having the heavies along with infiltrators seems like crazy aerial denial, right? So, like, this list is going to be really hard to deep strike into, and yeah, I mean, you're going to get very good map control if you place your infiltrators well. So, I mean, I like the troop choices a lot. A little bit more points than I would normally like to spend on troops, but it seems decent. A Judicar, yeah, we all know what the Judicar does. He makes an enemy unit within 3 inches fight last, and he's got the icon of the angel. So again, I mean, I guess this Judicar could be in this Impulsor. Interesting to know what all was going to be in the Impulsor here, actually. We have a Sanguinary Guard, and it's a big squad. It looks like it 8-man squad or 10-man. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. An 8-man squad with 3 Infernal Pistols, 3 Power Fists, a bunch of Plasma Pistols, and then axes. You know, personally I'm not a huge fan of the Plasma Pistols, but I guess now if you drop down and use Descent of the Angels, they're decent. Welcome, Castellan. And then axes, you know, for a long time I preferred the axes, but I mean, I think every weapon for the Sanguinary Guard is fine. I think having some Power Fists having some Power Fists in the squad is important in case you run into some armor or some high toughness enemies. But I mean, the mix between axes and swords, like if you're 50-50 axes and swords, and then the other 50, or maybe it only needs to be like 30%. Like this, what is this? This would be 3 Power Fists out of 8, like 37% Power Fists. I think that's absolutely fine. Something between like 30 and 50% of Power Fists is great. A Terminator Squad, and this is a Terminator Squad with Chain Fists and Storm Bolters, great for killing vehicles. Power Fists and Storm Bolters, I guess, great for killing everything else. And then just the Sergeant with his Power Sword and Storm Bolter. So sort of the regular shooting Terminator Squad. And they have the Homer, so they can redeploy if we need them to. A Vanguard Veteran Squad. Again, it's a big squad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And in there we have like a Relic Blade and an Infernal Pistol and the Sergeant. I like this a lot, especially if a lot of the other ones are having Storm Shield, right? Because the Sergeant can never be targeted till everything else is dead. So, you know, we got 7 guys with Storm Shields, 2 Thunder Hammers, 2 Power Fists, 2 Lightning Claws. Sorry, 3 Lightning Claws. And then the Sergeant. I mean, it's a very strong Vanguard Veteran Squad. Very tanky as well with a 2+4+ save. Yeah, I mean, this is very similar to the list I run. I think I'm running 7 Vanguard Vets and 8 Sanguinary Guard or 9 Sanguinary Guard. Like, this is very similar. So this is good. And then we also have a Veteran Intercessor Squad. So this is a squad that I have not run yet myself. Veteran Intercessors. I'm just going to have a quick look up at these guys. I have a list submission on Facebook. Could you please review it last today or just next time, depending on your time? Yeah, I mean, Castellan, I just have I very much just have a queue of lists coming through. Maybe in the future there'll be a way to bypass the queue. But right now, I mean, it's just, I think I've got 12 lists to look at, and I'm just doing them in the order that they're submitted. So if you want to, I can pick up your list, but I mean, I don't know. I don't feel. I mean, everybody at the moment anyway. I'm just doing them in the order they're submitted. I guess that's the fairest way. And usually my time is limited because like I have to get my wife to. Everybody's got family and stuff. So, all right, veteran intercessor squad. Heavy bolt pistol and chain swords on 4 of them, and then sergeant with the power sword. So what is a veteran intercessor squad? Is it just looks like a regular intercessor squad, but they get one more attack and they're elites rather than troops? Where's regular intercessor squads? Do you know, I always wish that they just make these codexes alphabetical, because it would be so much easier to find things. Assault intercessors, 2 attacks, 3. Veteran intercessors, 3 attacks, 4. So everything is the same except they get 1 more attack. So in some ways they're basically Death Company intercessors without the Black Rage, right? So interesting choice. They wouldn't be able to use Honour the Chapter and fight twice, so I guess you have to factor that in, that you're paying 20 points more for 5 more attacks, whereas the other way, if they were just regular ones, you could have the ability to pay 2 CP and then fight again. Maybe make the veteran intercessor Death Company for use of stratagems such as Refusal to Die, Forlorn Fury. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could definitely use that. What is the... I was going to say, like, I guess maybe the veteran intercessors you are having in the Impulsor with the Judicar or Mephiston. But yeah, they're basically Death Company without Rage. I'm not sure they're worth the 20 extra. I guess they're 5 points cheaper than Death Company intercessors, right? Because they're 24 model, so 5 of them is 120. So it's an interesting choice. I don't know if I would jump on this squad, but I mean, maybe if that's the models that you have and you just need to fill out your army list. And yeah, I mean, like I said, you actually lose the ability to fight twice. Like, here's a question for you. Veteran intercessor squad like this, right? If you just took an assault intercessor squad and then put an extra unit into it, so it's a 6-man rather than the 5-man, what does that put it at? So it puts you at 1 point less, and you would have a whole other model, and I mean, I guess that other model would have his 3 or 4 attacks. So, and then obviously these guys have OBSEC, and I guess you fit 6 in an Impulsor, right? So these guys would fill out the Impulsor. It's a tough choice. I'm not sure I'm super sold with veteran intercessors, but I mean, that's fine, I guess, if you wanted to take them. We have the 1 Eradicator squad for heavy sport, 120 points, standard Eradicator squad with melt rifles, and then yeah, I mean, I guess it would either be Mephiston in those intercessors or the Judicar in those intercessors in the Impulsor. And I suppose that if Mephiston did cast Unleash Rage on those veteran intercessors, then I guess you would get a bunch of extra hits. But yeah, I mean, the one thing I don't like is they're basically just a troop choice. I think I would rather have the Death Company and take the 6+ Feel No Pain. And then yeah, you could do a pre-game move with the Death Company as well if you wanted to. And then you've got the Impulsor last, sort of a standard Impulsor with a shield dome and the heavy stubber. So quite a survivable Impulsor. Alright, I mean, it's an interesting list. We've got quite a bit of mobility with our Sanguinary Guard and the Vanguard Veterans, and then the Impulsor. We've got some good holding for the backfield. We have this nice Chaplain to go forward. I guess we've got Mephiston, who can do a bit of torpedoing around. And then we have that interesting Librarian. that interesting lieutenant with Hero of the Chapter Imperium Sword, I would almost be wondering if it would be like, you have 10-15 points free here, right? Hey, welcome Redblade, thanks for tuning in. No, we're just on the first list, Redblade, so you didn't miss too much. And if you want to go more fighting on the Intercessors, why not just take Death Company? Yeah, you know what might be interesting is, like, this lieutenant could join the Death Company, right, for 10 points. You'd still have 5 points left over. This Vanguard Intercessor Squad could also become a Death Company Intercessor Squad for 5 points more. So if you made this lieutenant and this Vanguard in the Death Company, then they'd all have a 6+ feel no pain. They'd all get, like, I guess these guys would get the same number of attacks, but they'd have the 6+ feel no pain. This guy here would get an additional attack, and he'd get 6+ feel no pain. And he would let the Death Company units reroll 1s, and you could play Refusal to Die. And this jump pack guy could use a 12-inch pre-game move if you use Forlorn Fury. And then I guess the one thing to note is, like, if you don't have any Death Company characters in your army, then you essentially are just giving up the Death Visions. Now, I feel like there's value in those Death Visions. I don't know if I would necessarily say you need to have more than one Death Company character, but you have one character and you have the potential to use 2 out of the 3 Death Visions, and some of those Death Visions are pretty legit. You know, like, you could have this little lieutenant, he could jump in against, like, a crazy target like Mortarion, or something else big, like, and do potentially 6 mortal wounds. 50-50 chance of doing 6 mortal wounds, you know? And then you could pay the 1 CP so he gets a 3-up save, invulnerable save for the remainder of the turn. So I think if this was my list, I think those are the 2 things I would change. I might even change this to just like a regular death. If your lieutenant has a jump pack, then I'd probably just try and get this squad of guys to be jump pack as well. So you're dropping in lieutenant and these 5 guys behind enemy lines with a view to charging. And I mean, you could lose this Iron Tail Heavy Stubber off this Impulsor if you need 5 more points. I mean, hopefully you didn't glue that on, but I mean, like, it's just a Heavy Stubber. It's like heavy 4, 1 damage or something, right? Yeah. So, I mean, over the course of the game, this thing does like 1 or 2 wounds, you know, like, it's never... Maybe you get lucky and it does like 3 or 4 damage, but I mean, it's nothing significant, right? Like, I actually have recently, when I played, I just dropped the Shield Dome on the Impulsor as well. I just decided, like, the Impulsor is essentially becomes a bullet magnet anyway. The 5+ save, I'm not sure, is super... it's only a 33% chance of saving. You only really need your Impulsor to survive like 1 turn, right? You just move it forward as far as it can in advance, and then everything jumps out of it. So, I don't know if you need that. I mean, keep the Shield Dome if you want it to be slightly more survivable, but like, just drop the Heavy Stubber and replace those guys with Death Company. I think it gives you loads more options. Yeah, and a cheap lieutenant is some of the best options for Death Visions, is what people are saying in the chat. Yeah, so if you're going to upgrade that Death Company lieutenant, then I think this Veteran Intercessor Squad gets dropped. And if it was me, I would put in a 5-man Death Company, just a regular Death Company with jump packs and chain swords. And I mentioned this last night on yesterday's stream, rather. Maybe I can give you a good example. If you just give me 1 second here. I need to be a little bit more organised for this. But yeah, like the 5-man Death Company, I feel like in most battles they always provide value for me, right? There's always ways that you can use that 5-man Death Company to get points, more than I think you could use, let's say, the Veteran Intercessors. Like, the Veteran Intercessors are just gonna they're gonna have to... I suppose you've comboed them with the Impulsor though, right? So if you don't keep those Veteran Intercessors, then what are you comboing the Judicar with? Yeah, I mean, I guess there is a slight issue with this list in that sense. Okay. Oh, I'm still showing the book. Sorry. Yeah, so it's I don't know. I think where I stand right now on Impulsors is 130 points. I think is a lot of points to spend to essentially just get your troops into combat, right? Like when normally you're talking like jump packs cost 3 points per model. So if you divide that down, you can put 40 jump packs on models for the cost of one Impulsor. And, you know, when we look at other competitive Blood Angels players and the lists that they're running, they're not necessarily running Impulsors. I mean, a bunch of them are not running Blade Guard Veterans either, even though people think Blade Guard Veterans are generally quite strong. And you can only... Yeah, I mean... I kind of dislike I dislike disembarking from the Impulsor as well on a turn it's moved because you can't charge, and usually the units inside the Impulsor you want to use them to charge with, right? So alright, well we'll review this list as is. I think a lot of people in chat are giving some suggestions on how we can improve this, which is great. And move this up a tiny bit. Cool. Alright, so yeah, your objective holding and your OBSEC is pretty decent. 2 Infiltrator squads and a heavy Intercessor squad. You will be able to screen really well. You're also going to be able to hold the objective really well with those heavy Intercessors. There's a number of stratagems you can use with those heavy Intercessors to make them more survivable. So I guess you've got no problems there. How are you going to deal with hordes with this list then? I mean, I think you've got enough firepower to take out on enough close combat. You know, Vanguard Veterans can definitely smash into those. Those Terminators can smash in. You know, the Terminators have a bunch of Stormbolters. You have all the troop firepower. I mean, I guess if you really need to, Mephiston can go in and just like slaughter a whole squad as well in a single turn. So all those things seem fine. I think your anti-horde sort of capabilities, I'd say it's like a 4. It's pretty solid. Against vehicles, personally, I don't think one Eradicator squad is enough heavy firepower for a Blood Angels list. I mean, I suppose it depends on how competitive your meta is, maybe. You know, like I think the sweet spot for Blood Angels is around 300 to 400 points of heavy support. I mean, that's typically what I would run, like a Leviathan Dreadnought and a Redemptor Dreadnought, or maybe like a Land Raider plus Whirlwind, you know, like just enough to give the enemy some big targets to shoot at so your jump squads can get across the board and do whatever they need to do, right? Just having 3 Eradicators, I mean, these guys I guess will mop up some enemies, but I don't know if they... You know, I don't know if they're mobile enough, and I don't know if 3 of them is really enough to make anyone fear your heavy support, right? I think if they're like, I think I played an Ultramarines player that had 6 Eradicators in his army, and I just felt like it wasn't enough, and that was Ultramarines who are better at shooting than us. So I'd probably make a bit of a change here, but you know, some of the most competitive lists at the moment are running all melee combat with very little heavy support. So I mean, I guess this would depend on if the map favours you. If there's enough terrain that's obscuring and stuff like that, I guess you need to take that into account based on like what is played in your meta. So how are you going to deal against like heavy vehicles and monsters? Well, I mean, you've got your Sanguinary Guard and your Vanguard Veterans that can do something against them, and you've got some Chain Fists on the Terminator Squad as well. So you've got something, and I guess the Eradicators can do something as well. It's just, I think I would like to see a little bit more. Mephiston isn't great against anything big because his damage is too swingy with the sort of like D3 rather than a flat amount of damage. and I guess your Primaris Chaplain on a bike with his big Benediction of Fury and potentially Strength. What would it be? Strength 7, I think he can be with that Benediction of Fury doing mortal wounds. So he can do some work as well. So probably like a 4 is reasonable, but like still, if I was running this list, I would have a little bit more heavy support. I guess it's difficult to have a little bit more heavy support when we've spent 400 points on troops, but yeah, I mean, I do value like 2 Infiltrator squads highly. Okay. I mean, yeah, maybe the Terminators, like... Terminators are still... I ran them a couple of times in 9th edition, you know that? I ran some shooting ones and I ran some close combat ones, but I was never super impressed with what they did on the board. Maybe it was just hard matchups that they had when I picked them. Hey Bob, thanks for tuning in. Hey Alexander, hey Mario. But yeah, I mean, Terminators can certainly do work, but it's just a little bit different from what I would normally run or see. Mobility. I mean, the list's fairly mobile. These guys aren't supposed to be mobile, so that's fine. And you do have your Impulsor. So I think your mobility is generally pretty good. Mobility is maybe a little bit of a weaker category now, or less important category now that we have, like, what is it? Upon Wings of Fire returned to us, so we can do redeploy and jump pack units. Without that, it meant the enemy, you know, it could be quite difficult, but I think that actually makes our mobility easier to handle. But I mean, I guess this list is mobile enough. I don't have any issues with the mobility in it. And then yeah, I mean, I think the one thing that I want to say is, like, I just don't know if I would run this little heavy support. I feel like if you come up against something that's got a lot of heavy firepower, and you're on a sparse map, and there's good sort of line of sight alleyways or whatever you want to call them, or arcs of fire for the enemy, you could struggle, right? A lot of your strength here is the close combat of these 3 squads, and in some ways against the close combat of Mephistone and these veteran assault intercessors as well. And you know, how many points is that? You know, like, that's 375 plus another 500 plus another 155. Yeah, if you've got 1200 points of melee units, and then your troops, yeah, I don't know. I think it's tough. I'm struggling to put my finger on exactly what I would change. But I don't think, you know, I just haven't played a list like this with this little firepower. And I just know in my meta that there's some crazy stuff in the battle, like that you're going to have big problems with if the enemy can just sit them and screen them for the whole game, and you can't get close to them. Then they're just going to shoot units off the table every turn. And this one squad of Eradicators isn't going to be able to return nearly enough firepower. But yeah, that's my opinion. So yeah, I mean, I think I would probably score that like a 3.5 for specialization, saying like a lot of this hangs on the melee units doing what they need to do every turn, and if the melee units don't do that, then I guess like you're going to get hung up a little bit. And I guess, like, I've had battles, right, where, like, I've run battles in 8th edition where, like, my whole army has been melee, and if you get in the habit of, like, 4 or 5 failed charges in a turn, you could just lose the game on that, right? Because it's like, you need to have something to back that up for the situation. Like, there will be a game, right? If you've not had a game yet where you fail a bunch of charges, then it will happen to you. If you didn't see my battle against the World Eaters on my channel, like, 2 weeks ago or something, the Khorne player that I was playing against, I think he failed 6 charges in one turn, and they were all reasonable. Like, I think 2 of them were at 9 inches, but all the rest were shorter, you know, like, so he's failing 5-inch charges, he's failing 6-inch charges, and it means that all these close combat units are just stood out in the middle of the board, not able to do what they need to do, and you know, they take so much firepower that basically those 6 charges failed the game, or lost him the game. Maybe he wouldn't have won it anyway, right, if he'd made all the 6 charges, but I think it can make or break a game, right? And yeah, I don't know. I have an Impulsor. I bought it. I was excited for it, and that was when it was a 4+ save. I felt like it was really strong, but I think Impulsors just don't seem to be taken so often now. Good morning, Jamie or James. Thanks for tuning in. So yeah, I mean, I think my suggestion is probably like lose a veteran as still intercessors. Make this Lieutenant Death Company. Maybe take a Death Company to support Lieutenant if you're dropping them in. And then maybe I would drop the Terminators and take some sort of other heavy support. I mean, you could just pump out 2 much larger squads of Eradicators, or take something like a Redemptor Dreadnought. I think Redemptor Dreadnoughts are great at the moment. The Duty Eternal has made them so strong. They're core, so they can buff everything around them. If you think about it that way, you can use the Redemptor Dreadnought, pair it up with the Eradicators so that you cast Wisdom of the Ancient to give the rerolls of 1s. The Eradicators can move in advance and shoot the rifles, so the Eradicators can advance. Your Redemptor Dreadnought doesn't need to advance because he moves more anyway. I think a Redemptor Dreadnought moves 8 or 10, right? Redemptor Dreadnought, yeah, he moves 8, so he can move 8. The Eradicators can advance, and then he can cast his bubble, so everything's re-rolling 1s, including himself, 1 CP. So it just gives your firepower that much more of an oomph, right? Yeah, I mean, I think I would prefer that to the Terminator Squad, but I mean, yeah, I mean, I suppose it really just depends on the meta that you play in, what you're up against. So I don't think this is a bad list at all, but at the same time, I think there is some improvements you could use in here. And then, yeah, I would almost say if Mephiston is not going to be in the library, in the Impulsor, go watch the video I made this week about the Librarian Dreadnought and consider Librarian Dreadnought over Mephiston. I think the way that they are right now, Librarian Dreadnought is definitely stronger. Okay, if anyone has a score for Hydra or any suggestions, please pop them into the chat now, and then we'll jump on to D-King's list next, because I guess he's at the top of the list. And yeah, anyone that's tuning in, if you want to see any of these lists, they're all posted into the comments section below. So you can slow down, you can click on the comments, and you'll be able to see the lists that we're looking at. Morning, Robin. Thanks for tuning in. The Lieutenant was geared with Lightning Claws ×2, right? Yep. And alright, so thanks for tuning in then, Ryan. Alright, so we've got a lot of people in here today. Great. So if anyone else wants to make a comment on Robin on Hydra's list, go for it, and we're looking on to D-King. Right, so here we go then. So it's a Blood Angel Strike Force. It's got 2 extra relics. We've got a Captain of Lost, so this is the new Death Company Captain. He's got the Jump Pack, Mastercrafted Weapon, the Storm Shield, the Hero of the Chapter, the Gift of Foresight, and the Thunder Hammer. Interesting, right? So we've got the 4 damage Thunder Hammer. We get to reroll 1 hit and 1 wound, and he's part of the Death Company. Cool. We have another captain. You're allowed to do this. If this captain joins the Death Company, then you can have a regular captain. So a regular captain, he's got Icon of the Angel, an Infernal Pistol, a Relic Blade, Rites of War to give nearby units OBSEC, the Imperial Sword, and the Warlord and the extra Warlord trait. I don't think you can pick 2 Warlord traits from the Space Marine Codex, D-King. So if you're here, you need to tweak that. Rites of War and Imperium Sword are both from the Space Marine Codex, and I think the Angels blessed by the Arx Angelicum, the new stratagem that we got says that if you pick two, one of them, or the second one that you pick has to be from the Blood Angels book. So you maybe just need to double check the wording on that. It's Angel Exemplar is the name of it. So I guess you would need to fix that, but Rights of War on a captain is great to obviously add the OBSEC, and I guess surely there is something you could pick. You would probably take like probably take like a special issue war gear or something on this guy to make him a little bit more strong. Alright, and then we have a Chaplain with the Mantra of Strength, the Canticle of Hate for the +2 to the charge, and the 6-inch consolidation. 6-inch consolidation is actually golden, right? Like, it's so... People don't realise just how far 6-inch consolidation is. Yeah, someone else in the chat, Michael, is saying that this has to be... how long is the queue for list analysis? The queue is like, I've got all of next week and then it'll be into the week after. But I'm going to do a bonus stream, Robin. I don't know when, but we'll do a bonus stream to try and get caught up. There's just been a lot of list submissions with a new book. So, yeah. Alright, so this Chaplain has the Master of Sanctity, the Jump Pack. Master of Sanctity meaning that his relics, he can cast two litanies per turn. Litany of Hate. He has Quake Bolts, and he also has Wise Orator. So basically, his 2 litanies cast on 2s. So I mean that's generally very good. I really prefer the Chaplain on the bike though for 10 points more. I guess with the Master of Sanctity, he's only I think he's only 10 points more. He's way more survivable than this guy. This guy's like 5 wounds, toughness 4. The guy on the bike who's 10 points more is +1 toughness, +2 wounds, and because he's on that bike, you get that stratagem where you can use Skull for Riders, I think it's called, and you can -1 to hit him if they shoot at him. It's basically a smoke screen for the Chaplain. I totally recommend it. Alright, and then troop choices. We've got 2 squads of Assault Intercessors and 2 squads of regular Intercessors. I think it's worth just noting that while these are fine, our best choices for troops right now are definitely Infiltrators or Incursors. I just think both of them have... The concealed positions is super strong. Just lets you get on objectives earlier in the game and also deny out your opponent's deployment. And Incursors are no bad in melee combat, and Infiltrators are just amazing at denial because of the 12-inch bubble. So, I mean, these are fine. I usually run maybe like 1 Assault Intercessor squad, but probably going to drop it once I buy another box of Infiltrators. Because I think in the Infiltrator box you get to choose to build Infiltrators or Incursors. And I guess other pro players are playing those units as well. So, I mean, these are fine for more casual games, but I guess in competitive you want to probably think about switching these out for Incursors. A big death company here, 3 Thunder Hammers, and then all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So a 10-man death company with 3 Thunder Hammers, and I guess they combo up with this Captain of the Lost. This is very similar to what I mentioned in my video on the channel a few weeks ago. So this will be great. This will be able to let you get in super early, Forlorn Fury these guys, and really do some damage. Or, I mean, you could deep strike down with them. You know, you've got options there. It's pretty cool. So, Relic Terminator Squad with Combi Bolters and Lightning Claws. 2 of them. I mean, I haven't played Relic Terminators in 9th edition, but I mean, they are just Terminators, slightly cheaper points. They do just have basically a Combo Bolter is a Storm Bolter, and the Lightning Claw for +1 attack, reroll wounds. So these are fine. They're going to be slow, but I mean, you can teleport strike them into the battle. So I guess they're ready to react. And then a Sanguinary Guard, too lazy to edit, but some of Axe's, play it WYSIWYG, all the Sanguinary Guard I have right now. So a bunch of Sanguinary Guard with swords and fists, a couple with fists, and then the bolt guns. I mean, this is fine. Technically, I usually like to mix in an Infernal Pistol or 2. Just because it gives you the option to do like 8 to 16 damage if you have 2 in there. In the shooting phase, I mean, it's not as reliable as your Power Fist, but it can surprise an opponent and it can do a ton of damage. And then we have an Assault Terminator Squad which is all Thunderhammers. So again, sort of like a anti-monster, anti-tank Terminator Squad. And then a squad of Eliminators. Interesting choice, Eliminators. I never found 3 Eliminators did much work in the battle. You know, they just have those sniper rifles. They just do a few damage. Maybe they can pop a couple of wounds off a character. But, yeah, nothing amazing. I've been reading Mephisto and Revenant Crusade at work, and we don't have a lot of customers. I'm loving it. Okay. Yeah, I've been listening to the Darkness in the Blood book, the new one that just came out. It's really good, actually. I'm really enjoying it. So I'm unsure overall. I'm unsure of a good strategy overall. Let me start again. I'm unsure how good of an overall strategy this is, but the idea is listed as the enemy every turn with a new wave of reinforcements. In reserves, I would put the Terminators, leaving the rest on the board. If I get turn 1, I'll spend 3 CB straight away and move the Death Company Lost Captain with Thunderhammers to hopefully take out serious damage to the most dangerous unit for the army. I'll also try and take the centre at this point. Turn 2, I plan to move forward with the Chaplain, cancel to deep strike in the Terminators where I need them the most, making sure either I clear the remaining screens or smash whatever killed my Death Company using Fury the First. Combined with Quake Bolts. What had Quake Bolts again? Oh, it was the Chaplain that had the Quake Bolts. Okay, turn 3 with my Sanguinary, have 2 turns to move up. I would use them plus the Warlord Captain to hopefully push into the deployment zone objective and use the rights of war to steal it. And with hopefully taking a big chunk of their army at every turn, I would make sure that turn 3 they don't really have anything to challenge my Sanguinary Guard and let them keep alive and mop up. Meanwhile, my Intercessors hide in the back and Assault Intercessors try and contest the midfield. Not sure if you want my thoughts on secondaries. Yeah, secondary thoughts is cool, but I was thinking Oath of the Moment. Yeah, I like Oath of the Moment for basically all battles almost. For sure, as I plan to contest the middle anyway, should be an easy 15 points. Yeah, Oath of the Moment is really good for like 10 to 15 points. I'm going to do a video on secondaries, and I think that I think when you think about secondaries, you want to pick secondaries that will reliably give you 10 points and try not to be greedy, and I think Oath of the Moment does that every turn. Relentless Assault should be easy enough to score, especially if I go first. I believe that's the one where we have more units in the enemy deployment zone than we have in our own deployment zone. So yeah, that should probably be easy score. And the last one would be dependent for one for attrition, thin the ranks, first strike, or a mission specific one. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. You'd always do like all fronts or something. Oh no, you could, because you've done Relentless Assault. You could do Assassinate or something simple like that, I guess. Or bring them down, depending on what the RB is you're looking at. Yeah. Okay, so someone's asking, is it necessary to have Sanguinary Guard to be competitive with Blood Angels? I don't think it's necessary to have them. I mean, they're certainly one of our strongest units, and used right, they will delete just about any enemy off the board in one turn. Like 8 of them charging in right now with, a bunch of rerolls or something. It's phenomenal how much damage they can do. But I think we could be competitive without them. I'm trying out a Whirlwind on my list, and I'm optimistic about it. I mean, the Whirlwind's good for the denial of the Overwatch, but Overwatch is much less prominent in 9th edition, right, than it was in 8th. So I'm not sure you have to have a Whirlwind. And yeah, I mean, I guess Highlands is saying that you could spam out Death Company instead of Sanguinary Guard. That would be a choice, or that could be an option. Alright, so objective holding. Because Intercessors aren't the greatest at holding and or screening, then I guess you're a little bit weaker here. But you did see that one of your captains was going to have Rights of War, so maybe holding is like 3.5 and you get another half point because you can Rights of War the enemy off some objectives. How are you going to deal with anti-infantry here? I guess you've got a ton of Terminators with Lightning Claws. They'll have a load of attacks. You've got a big Death Company that could definitely kill infantry. You've got Assault Intercessors that could infiltrate. So I think anti-infantry, I don't necessarily think it's a problem. I don't think you've got anything super exceptional against infantry. But I think you can mop it up fine. Vehicles. your one squad of Terminators with Thunderhammers are going to be your biggest threat against them, and I guess the Sanguinary Guard, but you said you're starting them on the board, so it's going to be a few turns before they get to where they need to get. Maybe, it's a big maybe, if you get the first turn, the Thunderhammer Death Company units and the Death Company Captain can take out some enemy, but I think it's a big maybe. So I think it's a bit weaker on vehicles. You've got no heavy support either, so it's gonna, if they've screened those vehicles well or whatever, it's going to be very difficult for you to get to them. Yeah, maybe anti-infantry should be a little bit higher. You do have a lot of lightning claws and stuff, but yeah, anti-vehicles could be a problem for this list. Mobility. I mean, you said that you had 3 deep striking squads of Terminators, you have a Sanguinary Guard, you have that fast Death Company, you have the Assault Intercessors moving towards the middle of the board, your Captain has a jump pack, I think your other Captain has a jump pack. Actually, maybe this one doesn't have a jump pack. Brandon. Okay, but there's a couple of Captains here that have jump packs, and the Chaplain has a jump pack, so mobility is generally pretty strong. And then, yeah, I guess specialization. So, again, you're going to be very, very dependent on making those charges, right? Like, which is fine. I just always like to have some sort of backup for when you don't make the charges. And also, you're going to be a little bit weaker in the backfield. Like, I reckon, if you're playing a good opponent, right, and if... Maybe that's the wrong way to word it, is a good opponent. If you're playing an opponent that wants to win the game, and wants really badly to win the game, then they will have something that can jump in and deep strike and wipe out, let's say, a unit like this in one turn, right? And I think one thing that you need to be considerate about when you're playing 9th edition is you need to have a unit in your army list that can do exactly that. And when we talk about it for my army list, like recently, probably like the last 10 games, my way of doing that is a 125 point Death Company, or maybe like 135 points. So it's a Death Company with 4 chain swords and like a Thunderhammer or Power Fist. They're going to drop down in the backfield of the enemy's deployment zone, and their only mission is to kill a unit like this. If they die afterwards, I don't care. They just need to take that unit off the objective in the opponent's deployment zone to basically deny the opponent 5 or 10 points, and then maybe give me 5 or 10 more points as well, because I hold more objectives than opponents. And these squads will not... Against an opponent that wants to do that, Intercessors just want to survive. I mean, that's why I like Infiltrators a lot. And I guess that's why some people like Incursors a lot. But regular Intercessors, the amount of times that like someone will just deep strike in and just delete the unit, and then it will cost you the game because there'll be a 5 or 10 point victory point swing. I don't like it. In fact, I don't like it so much that I never put myself in that situation anymore, right? Like, I always have at least one squad of Infiltrators to sit in the backfield, and they can never be deep striked and charged. And a lot of people do use the deep strike and charge to get rid of those people off the objectives. Like, I mean, I use it every game. Like, it's literally one of my strategies. I will find somewhere, and I don't even need to do it in the same turn. So I will find cover. I mean, that's what I was looking for. A picture. Maybe, do you know what? Maybe I have a picture. Yeah, I mean, this picture would be okay, right? So this was the battle that I actually won this battle. I think it was 81 points, or it was 80 to 19, right? Like, I absolutely destroyed Brett in this battle. But both his objectives, right? Especially this one, has this big bit of obscuring terrain here, right? So if he ends up moving forward, like he's a corn army, he's all in melee, he has to get forward, I could literally put my Death Company in this spot right here, in this corner. So maybe 9 inches away from him,
but also maybe at a point where like I don't even care if I make that charge that turn. Like maybe I drop them down and I don't even bother charging. Next turn I just jump forward 12 and then have a guaranteed charge. Like the whole in this battle I actually dropped the Death Company here and charged up against this unit of Chaos Cultists here, and they killed 8 of them, so like they would have guaranteed to fail their morale test, and he actually paid 2 CP to make them all pass the morale test. But I mean the Death Company's job was done at that point because there was 5 Death Company in the objective and there's only 2 cultists, right? So basically like he has lost that objective. So that's why like, and I guess like another good example here is like I got infiltrators positioned up here, and that's making like a huge 12-inch bubble around here where it's just like this whole section of the board, like nothing is deep striking in. He actually had this drop pod thing that he wanted to bring in and take out like this tank here, and like he couldn't even put it here. Like I guess that was like 12 inches from the infiltrators. Like he was trying to fit this drop pod in here and he couldn't get it in. And like these infiltrators up here on the terrain as well, like it's going to be so difficult for anything to get in charge them. And I guess +1, +1 to their save as well because they're up here on the terrain. So, yeah, I mean, I'll go on about this every week. I guess just intercessors. If you're playing like a really competent opponent that has a unit that will just delete one of these, then expect to lose your backfield objective, and sometimes that will just lose you the game because of the point swing. So that's my opinion on it, and yeah, I mean it's for me it's a hard one because it's like I don't necessarily know if I want to pick infiltrators in my list every week because they're obviously more expensive, but I end up picking them because they, it's like it's just a very good percentage play. It's like this just stops this happening 100% of the time. And I guess, if you can do that, then you win more games, right? Okay, sorry, let me catch up in the chat. Hey Chris, thanks for tuning in. Shame the Whirlwind got a bit more expensive in points. Yeah, Whirlwind went up like 40 points or something. I think it was 85 before. Lots of teleport potential and objective camping on this list. Perhaps an Apothecary with Rites of War might be useful for sitting with the Terminators. Yeah, an Apothecary is great with Terminators because they're like 40 points a model. Bringing one of them back alive every turn is amazing, right? And yeah, you could probably lose one of those units of Intercessors. Just take an Infiltrator squad and then save yourself 80 points. And at 80 points, then, I don't know, you could almost... you could probably get rid of this Eliminator squad as well. I don't know even what they're going to do except take a couple of mortal wounds maybe off a character with their rifles or something. And do something, 170 points is sort of getting to the point where, like, yeah, you could take that Redemptor Dreadnought again. That would be an option. So, sorry. I guess specialization. I guess this list isn't... Again, it's a very, very melee-focused list. Even more melee-focused than the last one, right? You've got very, very little heavy firepower. So... I kind of scored your anti-vehicle monster low, and I guess we score your specialization a little lower as well, just because... Again, like, your whole army's on this linchpin, right? If there's not enough terrain, or if the enemy has really good shooting, or if you don't make enough of your charges, you're probably going to lose, and that's a lot of ifs for me. And I suppose it depends on what you're used to playing in your meta, right? So yeah, Bob basically said, take that one unit of infiltrators and lose some of the regular intercessors. Anyone here actually think that White Scars are stronger than Blood Angels? No, I don't think White Scars are stronger than Blood Angels. I'm on like a 7 or 8 game winning streak with Blood Angels, and only one of those games was played with our new Codex. So like, as just regular Space Marines, I think we're in a pretty good spot. Like, I don't think we're not strong at all at the moment. Like, I think we were strong enough with the Space Marine Codex, and I think our book has just... I think the book's very balanced, and I think as more units or more armies get their books in 9th edition, things will be more balanced. I like the infiltrators in the backfield because there's just so many that have throwaway units to... Yeah, exactly. Everybody you play against has some sort of throwaway unit to harass the backfield. If you don't have a throwaway unit to harass the backfield, I almost want to say you're doing it wrong. It's like one of the biggest ways you can swing points, right? Because like, imagine you both hold 2 objectives. You drop in your backfield unit and you kill them at the start of their turn. They now hold 1 objective, so you basically just got 5 more points. They have to send a unit back. Maybe that unit can't get back there, so then the start of your turn you hold more, so that's another 5 points. You know, so it's like it's killing that backfield unit can be. Well, there was an example where it was a 10-point swing in the battle, but it could easily be a 15-point swing or more, just dependent, you know, on smart play and stuff. So that's why I run the infiltrators, especially like, and other people, like if you think about like people dropping in like units like Chaos Terminators have those combi meltas, well, meltas of 12 inches, so they can't shoot the infiltrators because they have to be more than 12 away. So they only get to shoot the infiltrators with Stormbolters. Well, infiltrators have a 3+ save, you could smoke screen them, so you're not really worried about Stormbolters. They're never going to wipe a unit with 5 Stormbolters, but if they had 5 Meltagons on the Stormbolters, yeah, maybe they're going to wipe the unit, you know? So, yeah, sorry, I think in that game, Highland, they did, the cultists did objective secure it, but the thing is, that was back with the Space Marine Codex and the supplement where we can heroically intervene. So I just heroically intervened with the Death Company, I believe. But yeah, you know, I guess my point was that the Intercessors just aren't the greatest, right? We just, I have so many squads of Intercessors painted, and I just don't feel them. And in some ways, I feel the same about Assault Intercessors, like the Incursors being able to conceal position for 10 more points. It's just way more valuable. I mean, I guess they get 1 less attack, but quite often as a Blood Angels player, you get so many attacks once we get into turn 3 and 4. Anyway, it doesn't matter that they had 1 less attack. Okay, so if anyone has a score for D-King or any comments on his list, go ahead and fire them in now, and I'll update the sheet. And then we're going to have a look at Mark's next. Alright, so Mark has, again, it's 2,000 points, and it looks to be a battalion, and we have a Chapter Master, a Jump Pack Storm Shield Thunderhammer, Artisan of War, and Adamantium Mantle, and the Icon of the Angel. So I guess this is basically a Smash Captain of old, with a 5+ invulnerable, 5+ Feel No Pain and a reroll aura, and then the Librarian Dreadnought with the Null Zone, Wings of Sanguinius, Shield of Sanguinius, and Chief Librarian and the Heavy Flamer. So you can, I guess right now, if you pick Librarian Dreadnought, you cannot take Null Zone. You have to pick just powers from the Sanguinary Discipline mark. So if you're watching, I guess you need to fix that. But everything else seems fine. I don't know if you watched my video on this Librarian Dreadnought this week, or last week was it, but seriously consider giving him Iron Resolve. It's super strong on him. It gives him the 6+ Feel No Pain, which you can use against any mortal wounds he might take, because he's a Psyker, right? You could get Pearls of the Warp, or another Psyker could target him for mortal wounds. And on 9 wounds, he's super survivable. I think it's very valuable 1 CP to pay. I always seem to get Pearls of the Warp, so having a way to save against those is really useful. And then this list has 2 Infiltrator squads, which I kind of like, but then 10-man auto bolt gun Intercessor squad. So I guess this is an Intercessor squad designed to hold the midfield with their 30 shots of auto bolt rifles. Interesting choice. Not something that I've run before, but I mean I can see why you would run it. Redemptor Dreadnought with the heavy onslaught cannon, the rocket pods, and then an onslaught cannon, so very much anti-screen Redemptor. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 Sanguinary Guard seems like 10 seems like overkill, right? Any unit you run into with 10 you're going to destroy. You can probably get away with making this just an 8-man squad. Axes, fists, swords, I mean I think these are all fine. I like the Infernal Pistol. I don't think there's much value in this Plasma Pistol, but I mean if that's what you've made, that's fine. Just seems to me, you you're going to be in close combat anyway, so you're going to get to fire that Inferno Pistol, and you're probably going to be able to jump pretty close to the enemy. So again, you can fire the Infernal Pistol. I don't think you need the range of the Plasma Pistol, and it's unreliable on high power. Terminator Squad with Lightning Claws on the Sergeant, and then Thunder Hammers on everybody else. That seems like the wrong way to do it, because the Sergeant gets that one extra attack, so you would want the Thunder Hammer on the Sergeant, but maybe I'm missing something. And then an Assault Squad with a Plasma Pistol, a Power Fist, a Special Weapon, which is another Plasma Pistol. Strange choice, I guess. I mean, the Assault Squad do get the Melta Bombs, so maybe it's used to Melta Bombs there, but yeah, I mean, Plasmas just aren't my favourite. Like, I just don't like my own units dying when they shoot their weapons, and it's not like their weapons are even amazing Plasma guns, right? You'd probably be better just taking Meltas. A Suppressor Squad, I guess to basically deny Overwatch, and then the new Gladiator Valiant. I need to double check. I do not remember which variant the Valiant is. Give me 1 second to check. So the Valiant is the variant with... I didn't buy a Gladiator myself. I think the next thing I'm going to buy is like another Forge World unit. I think the Forge World units are a really good spot at the moment. So the Gladiator Valiant is the one that's got the 2 multi-meltas and then the twin link las cannon. So it's got heavy 4 strength 8 and then heavy 4 las cannon, basically, or las talon. So it's basically a las cannon, but just 24-inch range. Same. So the whole tank, I guess, is a 24-inch range. The multi-melta and the... Okay, so the overall plan is to deep strike the Sanguinary Guard of the Smash Captain and the Assault Squad into the heavy troops, medium armor enemies, infiltrators holding the backfield objectives and denying deep strike, intercessors pushing forward to the midfield. Yeah, that's what I said. Assault Terminators deep striking into heavy armor, Valiant for some anti-armor, Redemptor for anti-infantry, Suppressors for backfield, anti-armor, and Librarian flying around as a wrecking ball casting shield on the Sanguinary Guard. Intercessors are good, it's just they're very basic. Same with Assault Intercessors. I'd rather have Tactical Marines. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think the lack of options on the lack of options, I guess, across the Primaris range is probably the biggest issue I have with some of the Primaris units. Like, I like how all the old units got lots of different weapon options and stuff, right? I still like Auto Bolt Rifle Intercessors, very flexible to hold advance, and a Sergeant with a Power Fist. I didn't notice that, did he say? No, he didn't put a Power Fist on the Sergeant. Okay. Intercessor strategies to shoot twice and fight twice have come in handy each time I've run them. Auspex Scan with a shot of Auto Bolters is a lot of shots too. Yeah, what's the stratagem for... Can regular Intercessor squads, can they shoot twice, can they? I didn't realise they could shoot twice with the Auto Bolt rifles. I must have missed that. Someone tell me the name of that stratagem. I do remember there's a few stratagems about Intercessors. It was like moving and... Okay, yeah, it's just called Rapid Fire, 2 CP. Intercessor Squad or Veteran Intercessor Squads can shoot twice. Okay, so 60 Auto Bolt rifle shots. I mean, yeah, I mean, when you look at it that way, that's pretty decent. And it is decent against any sort of drops as well. Fast attack slot is the main thing. I don't see a reason for Assault Marines over Vets. Yeah, I mean, Assault Marines are only 1 point cheaper than Vanguard Vets, right? Has this list used all its points? No, so you've got 5 points here. So you could literally have had Vanguard Vets here, and you could have had Storm Shields. I don't know. I don't know if I like... I just don't like plasma guns. The only unit that I take the plasma guns on are like the big things like the Redemptor Dreadnought, who can easily you can afford to fire a plasma gun on high power on a model with 13 wounds. I don't know if you can afford to fire a plasma gun on an assault squad where a single one will kill a unit. You know, is the Space Marine Predator with autocannon good? I think there's better options right now than the Predator. The Forge World, probably like a Sicarian battle tank is going to be cheaper and do more damage than a Predator, and it's also going to have more toughness and more armor save. Sure, you're going to have to pay 1 CP to take it, but yeah, I don't know. And then I guess with the Leviathan Dreadnought getting its points cost reduced significantly, then I would say Leviathan is definitely going to be more survivable than the Predator, and probably going to be able to do more damage as well. Okay, so I guess Mark's list then. 2 Infiltrator Squads for holding is great. We don't have anything with Rights of War, but I guess we do have this 10-man auto bolt rifle guys that are going to try and sit in the middle of the board. I guess they could try and sit with like the Redemptor Dreadnought, and I guess these guys could be transhumans. So I mean, Objective Skewered is probably 4, maybe 4.5. I think I'll be generous on Objective Skewered and say 4.5. And then Anti-Horde, he definitely has thought about Anti-Horde because he has Redemptor with 2 Onslaught Cannons. I guess like your auto rifles, if you want to anti-horde, you could definitely use those. I mean, suppressors could do something against hordes, turn off the overwatch. I think anti-horde is fine, maybe like a 4. Nothing amazing, but nothing bad either, I'd say. Anti-vehicle, I mean, if the Valiant can survive, then it can do some decent anti-vehicle, with 4 las cannons and 4 multi-metals each time. I just don't think the Valiant's very survivable, only 12 wounds and only a 3+ save. The Terminators could do some anti-armor. The Sanguinary Guard obviously can do anti-armor. The Redemptor Dreadnought, I guess if you get some close, can do anti-armor. So I guess anti-armor is maybe slightly stronger, but and I mean, I do like that we have a bit of shooting here, like 360 points of the Valiant only has a 24-inch range, right? The Suppressor's a 48-inch range, and these guys can sit in the backfield and just pump out some damage. I like having units like that in a Blood Angels list, just because it draws enemy fire, right? So I mean, I guess the Gladiator, if he just draws fire from your Sanguinary Guard for a couple of turns, then maybe that's his job done, and if he kills something, great. If he doesn't, not so bad. So, yeah, I'm thinking 4, but maybe 4.5 would be better for anti-armor. I'm really confused about this Assault Squad. I mean, they can do melta bombs again on anti-armor. Just the plasma pistols and weapon options, I'm not so sure about them. Give me 1 second, guys. I think my heater's on in this room. I'm never too hot in this house, so something was wrong with the radiator. I forgot to turn it off. Okay. Yeah. So the Assault Squad confuses me a little bit. If you just wanted a unit for taking out armor, though, I'd probably drop these plasma pistols and stuff and just make it that you're just a Vanguard Veteran Squad with Storm Shields and then use the melta bombs up close. So maybe 4.5 for anti-vehicle. Mobility, I think, is generally fine. I mean, even your suppressors have jump packs, so they can move around. The only 2 things that are not really going to be mobile, I suppose, are your infiltrators, and you probably don't want them to be mobile. They're just going to sit and hold. So, mobility, I think, is generally fine. This may be even well, we'll go with 4 because I think when we come to specialization, I think this list is actually very generally well rounded. Based on what I was saying just half an hour ago, I probably drop these assault squads and take a 5-man death company, just to do that backfield destruction that we talked about. And if you did that, then I mean, I guess there's quite a lot of strength in this list. Predators are just so easy to kill. Yeah, I mean, the Predators are even easier to kill than the Valiant, and I don't know if the Valiant survival will. Raziel says, I have 3 Predators in my Ultramarines, and you need to get guaranteed offense before they get shot or tagged. Yeah. I would get... Maybe you could get some melta guns in there. John, if I send you a list today, will you review it next week, or have you got enough for content next Sunday? Chris, I have a few... I think I have a backlog of like 7 or 8 lists. I'm going to try and do an extra stream at some point to get caught up. I mean, I guess there's just been a lot of submissions with the new book coming out, right? And maybe in the future I'll have a way that people can skip the queue. I don't know how I would manage that, maybe, but I was thinking about like channel memberships, because other channels do memberships for a couple of bucks a month or something. So maybe I'll do a channel membership, and if you're a member, you can skip the queue, or something like that. Okay, and then, I mean, specialization. I don't think this list is specialized at all. I think this is going to be one of the strongest lists of the day. It's thought about everything. I would swap this Gladiator Valiant for Leviathan Dreadnought, though. If I wanted to make this list better, I would... Oh, shit, do you know what? I didn't update the thing on the top right-hand corner. So this was actually Mark's list we're looking at right now. Alright, I'll get better at doing that. Alright, so I would get rid of the Gladiator Valiant and get a Leviathan Dreadnought in there. I think actually people have asked a few times about the Leviathan Dreadnought. Maybe that's what we'll do this week's tactics video on. We'll compare the Leviathan Dreadnought, the Redemptor Dreadnought, and maybe like a couple of tanks or something. We'll do like an overview of like what heavy support is best. Maybe we'll throw Eliminators in there as well. And we'll see, we'll see once and for all exactly what unit is performing best for us on the battlefield. I have some new formulas and stuff in Excel, so it should be a bit easier for me to do it. So I'll get some data for that. But yeah, I think for the moment I would replace the Gladiator with the Leviathan. That would free up 40 points as well. I think the Leviathan's a bit cheaper. Maybe change this Assault Squad into a Death Company. You could, if you did that, you could make this a Death Company with Thunderhammer as well. So like if that Death Company ends up doing the work that they need them to do the objective, then they can then come else into the board and kill some other things as well. And then, I mean, I guess there was the one problem in that you need to change this one psychic power, but maybe there's a nice option, like maybe Unleash Rage or something. Again, this Sanguinary Guard of 10 man is probably overkill. Like 9 or 8 is probably going to be fine, so you could free up a few points there. So I think you could almost have like a Death Company in this unit, a Leviathan, and then maybe one other change. I'm not sure what the other change would be, but I mean, you do have some HQ points free, right? Could you just take a regular Sanguinary Priest without any jump pack or whatnot to follow some of these melee units around, or follow these Intercessors around and heal them every turn? That could definitely be a possibility. You could even Hero of the Chapter then to, give them some sort of useful Warlord trait that would buff these guys as well. I know there's a Warlord trait that buffs shooting, right? It's a Space Marine one. Let me double check it. It's been a while since I've looked for it. The Suppressor Squad only has 2 units in it. It has 2 units and a Sergeant. I think Battlescribe just hasn't printed out right. It is 100 points for a 3-man Suppressor Squad. Let me see. The Warlord trait I'm thinking of is called Storm of Fire. While a friendly core unit is within 6 of this model, when it makes a ranged attack on an unmodified roll of 6, improve the armor penetration of that attack by 1. So your auto bolt rifles have no AP, if I remember this correctly. So if you did pick up like a super cheap priest to follow those guys around, then every roll of 6 with your 30 or potentially 60 shots would then become AP -1. So for 1 CP, would that be worth it? Especially if you're shooting 60 times, that makes 10 of them -1. So
sort of, maybe. It's certainly an interesting option, right? So I think this list by Mark is pretty generally strong, and with a few tweaks, it could be a really strong list. I like it. I mean, if you've got some Predators, play some games with them, but I think you'll find that the Predators don't survive, right? Like, I think they're only toughness, I think it's 7 and 11 wounds, like I'm saying the Gladiator doesn't survive, and it's +1 wound, +1 toughness. But I mean, I guess it depends on how win at all cost, or it depends on how strong the people you play against are. Alright, so if anyone has a squad score for Mark, I guess not many people are scoring in the chat today, but if you want to score, you can. Alright, let me see who's up next. It is Mika. And let me change my submission name to number 4, Mika. Okay. Right, so was one of the first senders army list weeks ago. Hopefully it's been improved greatly. Looking to have a captain, BG vet, Blade Guard vets, and assault intercessors. Foot slug up the middle to contest the middle point. Have a Redemptor babysat by the Tech Marine, providing covering fire while moving up the table on either left or right side. Then having Stern Guard and strategic reserves to come in and melt anything that gives me trouble. I've been talking about the Stern Guard coming in with metal guns for a while, so it'll be interesting we finally see a list with them. Starting Death Company on the board with Astaroth to jump up whatever side my opponent neglects and get in range with Infernal Pistol Spam. Sanguinary Guard Deep Strike wherever is needed as well, and Vanguard Vets either reinforcing my backline of interceptors or putting pressure on opponent's deployment. Let me know what you think. Alright, so I guess Mika has had a list done before, a few weeks back, and this is a new version. So yeah, I guess we have Astaroth, Canticle of Hate, Exoner of Rage. What's Exoner? I don't pick that one normally. I have to check. This is why I made a mistake this week, I guess. So it's +1 to wound rolls. That doesn't stack with our Blood Angels +1 to wound roll. So I guess that's why I don't know what it does, because I don't use it. So you have to be wary of that. I think there's better options, like take Mantra of Strength and make Astaroth's Axe do 4 damage. I think that would be a better option here. We have a Primaris Captain with Imperium Sword, the Shield Eternal, the Heavy Bolt Pistol, Mastercrafted Power Sword, the Relic Shield. So the Primaris Captain from the Indomitus box here, and then a Primaris Tech Marine with Master of the Forge, so he can heal 3 damage a turn. He has Quake Bolts. He's Warden of the Ancient. That's the... Again, I don't take Warden of the Ancient. I think that's the one that makes a Dreadnought +1 Strength. Let me check. I don't know if it is. Master Warden of the Ancient. It gives a Dreadnought +1 Strength and 1 attack. I mean, this list he said he had a Redemptor Dreadnought. Redemptor Dreadnought's Fists already Strength 14. So it wounds Toughness 7 on 2s. It actually wounds Toughness 8 on 2s as well. So why you would need to give it +1 Toughness is beyond me. I mean, I guess maybe you're taking it for the +1 attacks, but I'm not sure it's worth 1 CP for the Tech Marine to give a Dreadnought +1 attack. I mean, I think the Redemptor's Fist is D3 +3 right now, because they changed it. It used to be D6, right? Let me double check. Redemptor Dreadnought. Redemptor Fist, D3 +3, yes. So it's a Strength 14 Fist, -3, D3 +3. So an average of 4.5 damage a hit from the Fist. And he gets 4 attacks, so it'll be 5 when he charges, and it'll be 6 with Savage Echoes. Do you really need 7 for a weapon that's going to do
-3 or -4, 4.5 damage a time. I feel like there would be a better way to spend that 1 CP than giving the Dreadnought +1 attack. Assault Intercessors and then 2 Intercessor squads. If you're just tuning in or you're just watching your list now, Mika, you need to watch back in the stream. I went on like a 20-minute rant about Intercessors and how I don't think they're valuable. So I don't like these. I'm okay with the Assault Intercessor squad, but I mean regular Intercessors, I just don't rate them. Infiltrators or Incursors are what you want instead of these. A 3-man Blade Guard Veteran squad. 4-man, sorry, including the Sergeant. 10-man Death Company, all with Infernal Pistols. That seems crazy. I mean, I guess you're guaranteed. You're hoping your Death Company are going to be in combat, so they're just going to rain death with that many Infernal Pistols. I don't know if I'd ever run that many. I mean, I might run like 2 or 3 in a single squad, but I mean, I guess you're basically guaranteeing that if a few units live, then you're just going to fire off a bunch of Infernal Pistols. I mean, it's not a bad strategy, it's just different. The Redemptor with the Heavy Onslaught Cannon and the Heavy Flamer. Don't know if the Heavy Flamer is the best choice. I like the regular Onslaught Cannon now. It's been made 8 shots. I think it's 5 points more, and I think it's generally worth taking. Yeah, and I mean, I think you almost have enough points to get it in the list. The Sanguinary Guard, all with Power Fists. I think that's the wrong call. I think I would drop at least 4, maybe 5 of those Power Fists and put in axes and swords. You don't, and then put in a couple of Infernal Pistols in this squad, right? You don't need that many Power Fists. And I guess if you end up fighting something that's weaker in strength, then you're just throwing away a bunch of attacks because you're gonna get a bunch more misses with the -1 to hit with the Power Fists. And these guys, like Sanguinary Guard, get like 4 attacks on the charge, 5 attacks if you're in Savage Echoes. So half the squad with Power Fist, you're already got 20 Power Fist attacks. If you've got like a captain or something, if they're near the Warlord, it's +1 to hit, and then they get some sort of reroll of 1s, or they could reroll everything if you have a Chapter Master or a Chaplain. So if you get 20 Power Fists and you're basically going to hit 20 times, you don't need another 20, right? If the unit that you're fighting against is still alive at that point, I'm sure the swords and axes will kill it, and you can save a bunch of points there, and you could use them to take other things. Can someone explain why suppressors fit the slot best here? I'm not seeing it. I mean, suppressors, I don't know if they were amazing in that last list. The suppressors do have the ability, for every unit they hit, they cannot shoot Overwatch. Like I said, Overwatch isn't as strong as it was in the last edition, but I mean, suppressors sitting in the backfield turning off Overwatch, it's no bad thing. I mean, if anything, they do it more effectively than the Whirlwind, right? Because the Whirlwind costs 125 points and you have to pay some CP. However, with suppressors, you can split the fire, so each suppressor gets 3 shots, so you could have 3 autocannon shots at 3 different targets, and you could basically turn off Overwatch for like 3 of the enemy units' armies, or troop choices rather. It would be super, super useful. We have a Sterngarn squad here with a couple of combi grav guns, a multi-melta, a couple of combi meltas, and then a Vanguard veteran squad with Thunderhammer, Storm Shield, Power Fist, Thunderhammer, Power Sword, Lightning Claws. A bit, it almost feels like a bit of a hodgepodge, when you just cram everything in for this last squad. Okay, so let me think what you said. Like, we've got our Intercessors, we've got Blade Guard Vets, we've got our slow walking Primaris Captain. We do have a Tech Marine to keep this Redemptor alive, but that is your one vehicle. When you only have one vehicle in your list, for example, one Redemptor, having a Tech Marine to me seems like maybe a waste. Like, I feel like you want to have at least 2 vehicles to have a Tech Marine, because if one vehicle dies, then the Tech Marine's just lost, like, especially if you've paid extra points to make him heal more. Well, he's just completely lost that part of his thing. And I guess he would actually lose that Warlord trait as well if your one vehicle dies. So, not super sure about this Tech Marine. I get that he can awaken the vehicle, right, and he can make you can make the Redemptor hit on 2s, which is fine. But again, you've got this heavy flamer rather than an onslaught cannon. The heavy flamer is going to be very limited in range, and again, it doesn't benefit from +1 to hit that the Tech Marine does. I think if you want this list to work, then I don't know, drop like 4 of these Infernal Pistols, maybe even 5, that's 25 points. Drop 4 of these Power Fists, that's another 25 points. Right, so you've got 45 points now. Having the Stengard and the Vanguard, maybe you need to drop, like if you want to keep the Tech Marine, I think you need to drop one of them and take another vehicle of sorts, so the Tech Marine has more value. I'd probably drop this, like, another vehicle is going to give you shooting, right, which is what this Sternguard squad give you, sorry, so I'd probably drop the Sternguard squad, keep the Vanguard squad, so you've got 1, 2, 3 strong close combat squads. I guess you've got the Blade Guard, which can sit in the middle and be your 4th close combat squad. You need to address the problem you're going to have with troops. You know, like if I was going to play you with this list, you're always going to lose your backfield to me, which is going to... It doesn't matter how good everything else does in the game, you're going to lose the game because I'm going to swing the backfield. And yeah, I mean, Astaroth right now for 150 points. You've taken a litany that doesn't really help us, or at least it doesn't help us if we ever charge or get charged or heroically intervene. So I think that is probably the weakest litany choice you could take on him. And then again, if I remember correctly off the top of my head, Astaroth is toughness 4, wounds 4. Whereas for 10 points cheaper, you get the new Primaris Chaplain on the bike, and he is toughness 5, wounds 7. So he's just going to be a lot more survivable. Yes, he does only save on 3+ now, as opposed to Astaroth, who is a 2+ save. But it's not really small arms fire that is the problem for these guys. It's usually like they get hit with a melty-gun, and the melty-gun, you know, the melty-gun would wound Astaroth in 2s, which means it's almost like a guaranteed wound. Whereas the Primaris Chaplain on the bike, you could pay 1 CP to make him Skillful Rider, so he's -1 to hit. You could pay 1 CP so he's transhuman, so they only get wounded on 4+. So he's just going to be a lot more survivable. So yeah, I don't run Astaroth at the moment, and I get that he has Massive Doom, and Massive Doom was a cool thing last edition. Not so cool now. In that last edition, it used to do 1 mortal wound to the unit. Now I think it just kills the unit. So Massive Doom actually, although it became better in a way that you can cast it more often because it's now a litany, at the same time, when you roll a 1 model and that unit is destroyed, I don't know if getting +1 to hit is ever going to be worth, like, let's say you taking the death of a 35 point Sanguinary Guard. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And especially because it's so random, right? It's just like, it's an 18% chance that just 1 model dies, and it's only an 18% chance that you get the 4+ invulnerable save from Massive Doom. So there's definitely improvements that could be made across this list. I don't think it's a bad list, but yeah, I mean, definitely improvements to be had. And stacking up squads like this with all the same weapon is not my favourite. I like having some cheap models in every squad, so when you lose the first few units, you take away the cheap ones, right? Keep your basically, like, if you think about the squad going to half health, well, if these guys were just bolt pistols, you've got 25 points to put somewhere else. If these guys were half health, you've got another 20 points to put somewhere else. Even in this Vanguard Veteran squad, there should be some that just have storm shields and chain swords. And again, these are the cheap guys that you take off the board, so you keep your Thunderhammers on the board, right? And I do that in every unit. And honestly, I think it makes a lot of sense, right? It's like, you lost 1 unit from... If you think about a Vanguard Veteran with a Thunderhammer is 36 points. A Vanguard Veteran with a Chainsword is 24 points. If you had half of both, the first 4 that die, well, they're the Chainsword guys. Of course they are, you know? Like, and you're basically protecting your model that costs 50% more points. And, you know, being efficient like that can be important in the game, you know? All right, so Mika, let's have a look then. We're looking at objective holding obsec. I think we're going with like a 3.5. Like, you will have problems if your enemy is got good backfield anti deep strike things. You have the points here. You could easily change. So you need to buy a box of infiltrators. Infiltrators and cursors can be built in the same box. So you need to pick up a box of those for sure. Anti-horde. Not much, I guess. The heavy onslaught cannon, the assault intercessors, maybe. I mean, your death company can kill hordes, but I mean, with all these infernal pistols, I guess this confuses the squad a bit to me. Like, if they were just bolt pistols, then I'd say, yeah, these guys are killing hordes. But with all those infernal pistols, it's almost like you're wanting to put them into high value targets, right? And again, it's hard to see exactly what this Vanguard squad would be doing. It's like 2 Thunder Hammers, 2 Power Swords, the Sergeant with Lightning Claws. So I mean, I guess they could do a bit of anti-horde stuff. I'm going to say like a 4 or something. Anti-vehicle. So I guess the way you've built these squads, the Power Fists and the Infernal Pistols, is to do some of your anti-vehicle work. And I guess with the Thunder Hammers here, and the ability to do Melt-A-Bombs and some Meltas here as well. And I mean, Blade Guard Veteran can kill armor, just not very effectively. Yeah, and who's the Warlord again? The Tech Marine. Yeah, you know, this Tech Marine Warlord has really confused me a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I think the way you've built these guys is a bit unorthodox, right? Like, I guess maybe you could do anti-vehicle with the Death Company all jumping in and hitting their Infernal Pistols, and maybe you can do anti-vehicle with all these Power Fists, but I think you're like shoehorning these guys a bit into roles that they're not usually doing, and if they don't manage to do the work, then you're gonna have a bit of a tough time. So maybe like this, like 3.5. Mobility, I think, is generally pretty good. 2, 3, 4 squads very mobile. So again, I think it's a 3.5. There is ways to be a bit more mobile here. This captain without a jump pack. The Primaris. I'd probably lose like 1 assault intercessor and maybe make this like a good old Space Marine captain on a bike, or a jump pack captain. Like, you know, a key melee unit like this, just foot slogging it. It's going to take him 2 or 3 turns to get into combat. And he's not going to be where you need him to be to give you some sort of rerolls on ones. And another way that Sanguinary Guard are so powerful is if they're next to the Warlord, they get that +1 to hit, right? So like having a Captain or a Chapter Master as your Warlord with the Sanguinary Guard basically makes the Sanguinary Guard, like, I'd say like 30 or 40% more effective. And you just don't have it. And you also have sort of a strange choice of weapons here on the Sanguinary Guard. So, yeah, I mean, like, I feel like the score is coming out as 14.5. I feel like this is harsh. Yeah, I don't know when we're going to get told about heavy intercessors for the pre-order. I don't know if there's going to be much more pre-orders before Christmas, because I'm sure Games Workshop sent out an email saying, right, that the last day of like ordering to get stuff for Christmas was like this week. So if they've not announced it, then annoyingly, I guess we're probably not going to get any. We're probably not going to get any more new releases before Christmas, I guess. And yeah, I mean, I guess you make a good point about the suppressors, Raziel, in that they only prevent infantry overwatch, and they do have a penalty for moving and shooting. However, because each one is 3 shots, right, with the suppressors, if you move and shoot, you still hit on 4s, so you're likely to still make a hit with each model. So you can turn off Overwatch for 3 enemy infantry units. So I think there is value in the suppressors. I don't think the suppressors are ever particularly going to kill much. Maybe if you're on a 6-man squad with them, but I think they are an interesting unit to have around. I mean, the whirlwinds tend to die pretty quickly as well. Like, if the enemy sees you have a whirlwind on the board, they're probably going to just try and shoot it off the board straight away, or they're going to, do a backfield deep strike to take it out because you've probably deployed it quite defensively. So typically, like, I would run again, whirlwinds don't kill much, right? Like, what do you get? Like, D6 shots, strength 7, -1, 2 damage or something. So typically you get like 3 shots, couple of hits, couple of wounds, and maybe 1 fail. So your whirlwinds do less damage than the suppressors, and I guess you have to pay the 1 CP to disable Overwatch. Yeah, Mika, I think I've maybe been a little bit harsh on this list, but yeah, I think some of the ideas here are interesting. They're not things that I would run, and I'm not sure I would see them in competitive play. And I think a few small changes. Hey, Worst Wazzer, thanks for joining, thanks for subscribing. I think a few small changes we could get some more value out of this list, right? If we improve that captain and we improve these troops, you would definitely be looking like a 16 or 17. If you do really want to keep that captain, then I guess you would need to have some sort of way to get him across the battlefield, like the captain with the assault intercessors in an impulsor. That could work. I think a tweak on this Redemptor Dreadnought, maybe like the macro plasma cannon and the onslaught cannon. So I guess this is the easy build model, I think. If you want to change out the weapons, get the macro plasma on there and get the onslaught cannon. So he has a little bit more firepower, and yeah, I think drop some of these weapons, and then if you really want to keep the Tech Marine, get a second Redemptor Dreadnought or some sort of other armor in there, or maybe keep this one and have another one, and then your Tech Marine has a bit more value. I wouldn't take a Tech Marine if you only have one. What is it? Strength 7, 13 wounds. I mean, that's something that can die in 1 turn. For sure, that can die in 1 turn. I used to use like the Shield of Sanguinius on Redemptor Dreadnoughts to give them a 5+ invulnerable save, and they would still almost die in 1 turn. So I'm not sure the Tech Marine is going to have much value on this. So, I mean, I don't think it's a bad list. I think 14.5 is harsh. I just think you can improve all the 14.5 is definitely harsh when the numbers don't add up. Alright, so it's coming in as 18. So 18 doesn't seem so harsh, but yeah, I think with some small tweaks, you could bring this up to like a 20, 21. Just need to maybe unify some of your ideas. And I haven't mentioned your troops, but go back, watch this stream again and listen to the review. I think it was on list 2 or 3, I went over troops for like 20 minutes, so you do that, you'll learn a bit about troops. Alright, and then last list today. I think it's this one, yeah, PJ Dat 96. Let me update my submission name. Okay, so for anyone tuning in, I know that some people have definitely tuned in late. We have every list that's been gone over today has it's in the comment on the YouTube description, so you can find it. And then up in the top right hand corner here now, we're showing whose list we're going. So if you watch the stream back later, it should be a bit easier to follow where we are. I would keep the big Gatling. It will be great against new Death Guard stuff. Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be great against the new Death Guard, but again, when you build an army list, personally, I feel like you shouldn't be thinking about a specific enemy that you fight against, right? You should be building the army list to be strong against everything. If you go to a tournament, right, you never know who you're going to go and play. So when you're building an army list, my thought is like build something that's strong against everything, and don't try and pick like things that are going to be strong against only a single enemy or unit. Okay. Right, really appreciate you taking your time to look at all these lists. HQ choices are based on a fluffy game, so I can't take any relics, I am aware. We'll be facing Death Guard. Any strategic advice would be appreciated. Okay, well, first off, Dante's Warlord trait now is Heroic Bearing. I don't know if you've got the new book, but if you find the new Blood Angels Codex and you go to the Warlord trait panel, it's now Heroic Bearing, which basically means his aura is now 9 inches, and within 9 inches it's +1 leadership. So I think that's probably better than the Speed of the Primarch, but yeah, I mean, being able to Chapter Master reroll designate a target within 9 inches is really nice. I haven't run the Sanguiner, but I guess he's got this really new niche miraculous intervention stratagem. So there's that. Oh, you're welcome, John. Thanks for your comment. General question: how viable is it to run detachments to get more HQ? I play mostly casual and have it running lots of HQ. Yeah, I mean, it's totally viable, Janice, to run multiple detachments and get more HQ. I think they've made a change in the game in 9th edition. So the game is much more about troops and units now than it is about HQ. Like last edition, I don't know. I think I ran lists last edition with 8 characters, maybe. Like, I literally ran lists that had a Smash Captain, Mephiston, Astroth, Lemartes, a Sanguinary Ancient, 2 Sanguinary Ancients, so that's 6. I feel like I had more as well. But now I think it's much more troop-based. So I think 3 HQ is perfect, but you know, if you run 2 detachments and you still start with 9 CP, I think 9 CP is loads. Like, quite often I'll start a game with 6 CP, and I don't feel CP starved until maybe the later turns. So I think that's fine. So okay, so we've got 3 iconic characters here, and Mephiston obviously finally gets back his sanguinary powers. He's decent. If you did watch my video this week, PJ, I saw you in chat. The Librarian Dreadnought really gives Mephiston a run for his money. Go watch my video from last week and see if you think it's worth taking Mephiston. And then, I guess, for your troop choices, I like that you have 1 Incursor squad. I mean, the Incursors are great. Intercessors, not so much. Assault Intercessors I'm okay with. I really think this Intercessor squad would need to be another Incursor squad or Infiltrator squad. You get a lot more value out of that, especially the Deep Strike Denial of Infiltrators. I just love that so much. For Elites, you've got 2 Tactical War Suits. I need to look at the... Tactical War Suit is... Oh shit. Tactical War Suit is something that I've only run once. I don't actually own one. I just proxied it the one time I ran it. Let me see. Tactical War Suit is... Are they fast attack? I feel like it would be an elite. 1 second. Tactical War Suit. Yes. The cannon is heavy 2d6, strength 5 -1/1 damage. In each attack made with this weapon automatically hits the target. Alright, so it's basically a 12-inch double heavy flamer. Alright, so you've got 2 tactical war suits which you can deploy in concealed positions. So you can use them to help you screen, I guess. So maybe your troop choices are okay because you've got these 2 tactical war suits. Interesting. Got the Redemptor with the rocket pods, the Macroplasma, and the Onslaught Cannon. This is my preferred choice. I think the Macroplasma is really, with the ability to do 3 damage per shot now, I think it's really strong. And Onslaught obviously got buffed to 8 shots as well, so that's really nice. 2 Sanguinary Guard, 2, 4, 6, 7, and 2, 4, 6. I mean, I usually recommend 7 to 9, so a 7 and a 6 is probably fine. And I like the fact that each one has a couple of Power Fists in them, that's good. I wouldn't put all the Infernal Pistols in one squad. I'd move 2 of those guys down and switch them. Couple Infernal Pistols in both. I just always feel like, you know, if you have one squad that you've been like, right, these are all the Infernal Pistols, then your opponent will either realise that and shoot at everything that they have at them, or they'll end up not being where they need to be on the table, and you end up, losing units essentially, or losing a battle because all your Infernal Pistols were off in one squad when they could have been split across the 2. Just my opinion. 3-man Outrider squad, just 3 of them, and then 3-man Eradicator squad. So, interesting list, I'd say. A little bit of close combat, quite a bit of vehicles, and then 3, I guess, key lower characters. Which when I was doing the stream with Evan yesterday, we touched on the fact that like all our named characters are kind of weaker now. I mean, they all have some sort of quirk, I guess. Like Dante gives you that +1 CP, and Mephiston has like his 5+ feel no pain, and I guess the Sanguiner has this like deep strike heroic intervention. But all our characters to me feel a bit, I don't want to say crap, but you could just make better characters usually now using like the chapter command rules from the book, and I guess even using these Death Company rules from the book, and they'll just be A, more survivable, B, more customizable because you can do a lot of things with relics and warlord traits, and then the third thing is usually they cost less points. Like I think if you make a chapter master with a relic blade and an infernal pistol, so basically exactly the same as Dante, he comes in as 165 points, and you can then give him a 5+ feel no pain, right? Which makes him like 33% more survivable than Dante, and he's 10 points less. And all Dante gets is basically if he dies, you can honor the chapter for free. Like again, something like that I just think is so situational. I'd much rather have something that gives me value in every single turn, right? So something that gives me value in every single turn is like Dante can ignore mortal wounds on a 5+, whereas like Dante's often in my meta quite often, like in a recent game actually, my opponent had 2 Leviathan Dreadnoughts and Dante was in melee combat, and I guess he was in range of both the explosions, and he took 5 mortal wounds, right? And that killed him because he'd taken 1 wound previously in the battle. So it was just like Dante just goes from basically full health to dead, and I don't even get to roll a dice. Whereas if you'd made your own chapter master who was 10 points cheaper, I would get to roll 5 dice and on 5+. My character's still alive, and I have I had a chief apothecary in that battle. So if my character was still alive into my turn, I can heal back 3 wounds on him. Whereas in the situation with Dante, it's just like, oh, you just died and there's nothing I can do. And I think if I give you 5 dice and said roll a 5+, you're going to roll 1 5+ on 5 dice, right? Like if you don't, well, shit happens. But at the same time, like I think it's a good odds play, right? Like if you were going to bet money on, like, if I gave you 5 dice, you could roll a single 5+, you'd probably take that bet, right? So I guess, like, you've mentioned that your characters, they're not the strongest, and I guess, yeah, that's what I'm saying here. Someone else agrees with splitting the pistols. In my list, most of my Death Company have chainswords and bolters. Wait, yeah, all my Death Company have been converted to have chainswords and bolters, and now they can't have bolters. So anyone I play against, I'm just going to have to tell them that my Death Company have got bolt pistols. I'm not. Who knows what they're going to change it to in the future? I may even make more Death Company with bolters and weapons. They're just anyone I play against, I will just tell them they're bolt pistols. I'm not going to reconvert everything because Games Workshop have changed their mind. I actually even have varnished mine as well. So like, how am I going to deal with that? I actually have varnished a Sanguinary Priest. Like at the start of 8th edition, they gave you the option to put Sanguinary Priests could have different weapons. So I gave mine a Stormbolter and a Power Sword, and I varnished him. And it's like, and halfway through 8th edition, they took away his jump pack. Well, mine's got a jump pack as well. Then at the end of 8th edition, we got the jump pack back, and it's now. So it's like I basically have this Sanguinary Priest sitting in the cupboard, be like, at what point will they give us the option to put the weapons on him again? It's just stupid. They need to just make up their mind on some of those things. Were Death Company overpowered with an extra the ability to use a bolt gun as opposed to their bolt pistol? I don't think so. I mean, maybe it's just because the Sanguinary Guard have the Angelus bolt gun and it's supposed to be better or something. I guess. So objective holding OBSEC. I think it's probably going to be like 4. you can use these. You can use the concealed positions on the Invictus warsuits and the Incursors to probably push into like no man's land at the start of the game. So I think you're in a decent state for obsec and holding. Anti-infantry, I mean, I guess you've got two massive heavy flamers on these guys. You've got Outriders, which can do a bit of anti-infantry. Against your Sanguinary Guard, can do a bit of anti-infantry. This Onslaught Cannon can do some work. The Heavy Flamers, yeah, I think I said them. And then, I mean, I guess your characters at a push can do infantry. So I think against infantry you can probably do fine. I mean, if we really want to talk about killing infantry, Dante can cast his Chapter Master buff on himself. He gets 8 attacks. So he can arguably kill 8 infantry models in a turn. Against, like, anti-vehicle and monsters, well, all these things have power fists, and all these things can do a lot of damage with the power fists. I guess it's a case of if they can get in range with their power fists. Your Sanguinary Guard with Infernal Pistols and Power Fist again can take out vehicles. You have an Eradicator Squad that can do that as well to a certain extent. And I guess Mephiston, the Sanguinary Dante, if these guys are in the right place and they're alive, again, they can probably do some work. It really depends on how well the opponent's screened, or it depends on where they are in the battlefield. But I think if you have your guys in the right place at the right time, then I don't think there's too many vehicles or monsters that you can have problems with. I think you have a good balance here. Like, you have a decent amount of shooting. The Eradicators can shoot pretty effectively. The Redemptors can shoot pretty effectively. The Warsuits can do okay. The 10 Angelus Bolters, they can do okay. And I mean, I guess the Outriders can shoot 12 shots per turn as well. So yeah, maybe your anti-infantry. Maybe your anti-infantry is even slightly better than 4. Maybe it's like 4.5. It's a question mark. Mobility. We got the two Sanguinary Guard that are mobile. We're just going to give the Invictors high mobility because the concealed positions. The Incursors again, concealed positions. Deep striking from 2 of your 3 HQ if you need it. The Outriders. So it's a pretty mobile list. It could maybe be slightly more mobile if there was like another jump pack squad or something in there, but generally I don't think... Mobility, I guess, has changed with the Upon Wings of Fire rule being added back in. So before it might have been a problem, like before the Blood Angels Codex, maybe we would have done 3.5 on it, but now I think like generally it's okay. And then specialization, I do think you might have some problems in certain lists. The Invictus Tactical Warsuits, they aren't super survivable from my experience. And if you are pushing them forward to get in with those heavy flamers, it is questionable if they're going to survive. And then if you're deploying them back to sort of hold the lines or shore up mid-tier objectives, then maybe that's not ideal for what they can do either. And someone, Highland has said, maybe take Plasma and Scepters instead of Eradicators to accompany Dante. I mean, I think that would be a very wise choice. Especially because you can give them the full Chapter Master rerolls, and the 2 damage would be kind of nice. And then that would probably push your mobility up. Yeah, maybe your mobility is 3.5, and that would help push you towards 4 or 4.5. I can't decide on whether to paint my drop god Death Company or Blood Angels. I was planning having a Razorback into the Death Company and have a Primaris Impulsor into Death Company colours. I mean, I think it's fine to paint it however you want to paint it, man. I sometimes paint stuff Death Company just because I think it looks cool, even if they're not Death Company. You know, like red, black, and gold to me are colours of our chapter, really. So paint whatever you want, whatever colours you want. I'm actually painting. I'm painting a group of infiltrators at the moment, and I'm giving them black helmets because I thought it looked cool. And I'm also painting my... let me see if I can grab one. Yeah, I mean, these guys are ways to go yet, but like, I just thought like, hey, black helmets on the infiltrators would be pretty cool, right? Just something different. And then... I'm thinking that I'm going to paint my Vanguard veterans in gold, just because like Vanguard veterans are just one step down from Sanguinary Guard, right? So why would they not be in gold? So they're going to be gold with red helmets on, I think, red shields or something. So yeah, Dante really needs to become Primaris. Spoiler alert from about a year ago, if you haven't read the new book, Darkness in the Blood, then in that book, Mephiston goes through the Rubicon and becomes Primaris. So I guess that happened in the board game about a year ago. The book just came out like 2 weeks ago, I guess, with all the Blood Angels stuff. I think there's a link in one of my previous community posts where you can get that book for free. If you don't have an Audible subscription, you can go over there. You can get a free trial. If you use my link, I really appreciate it. And yeah, I mean, I like listening to the books while I paint, and the Darkness in the Blood book is the one where Mephiston goes through the Rubicon to become Primaris, and in the book they say it's a 60% chance that you can pass the Rubicon. So, but apparently they say all the time they're making it safer, so probably just it's a matter of time before they get better. And yeah, Mephiston still isn't as good as he should be. In terms of the lore, in the books, Mephiston's like a god, but then when it comes to the tabletop, not so much. And then specialization for this list, let's think. Yeah, I mean, overall, I think it's generally pretty good. I mean, I think you're going to struggle with these characters just because I think you can build better characters, more survivable characters for less points. I think Toughness 4 characters are generally quite weak now, especially in the current meta with all the melta-guns, right? Like, so if your characters can all be wounded on 2s, you have a problem. And yeah, that's... yeah, the book came out last year. I guess I didn't get the limited edition, I just got it recently. Blood Angels Commander can we use impulsors as mobile line of sight blockers rather than using it as a transport. You use it for covering fire lanes for infantry. I mean, you can, but like, remember, if they can draw a single line 1 millimeter wide to your base, they can see you. So, I mean, I don't know if I don't know if that impulsor strategy is really going to ever work very well. But yeah, so finally, then, specialization on your list is quite. It's like you need these tactical war suits to screen and then get in early to do their damage, because I don't think they're particularly survivable. The Sanguinary Guard really need to hit home where they need to hit home. These characters are going to struggle, these two especially. Mephiston maybe not so much, he is toughness 5, but again he doesn't have an invulnerable save. So I think specialization maybe just like 3.5. So I mean, it's a decent score for a list that you've said is a bit fluffy, or is a bit like, yeah, it's a fluffy game. So yeah, I mean, as a fluffy list, I think it's solid enough, but in a highly competitive list, I think it would struggle. I feel like the strength of an Invictor Tactical Warsuit, right, is to deploy very aggressively, then get in combat with a unit in turn 1 and maybe do a bunch of damage with your flamer, and then hopefully be sat ready to get some backup. So I'm not sure you can provide much backup straight away with this list. One way you could provide backup is like a Death Company Forlorn Furying up the battlefield. But yeah, I mean, when I ran the Invictor Tactical Warsuit, I feel like they were very exposed and they died very quickly. So not my favourite unit. I think if you're going to run 2 of them, if you're going to run them in the backfield in a different sort of strategy, then I guess like the Flame Cannon is probably not the way to go. Alright, so does anyone have any questions or suggestions for PJ Dat before we wrap up today's stream? And yeah, maybe a way. I don't actually have a copy of Excel, but I may look into that, Highland, as a way to making these scores look a little bit more pretty for people. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, 5 decent lists today. and I really want to get round to. I am taking some vacation later this month, so I guess for next week then we have Afro Samurai, Acreal, Alexander L, only Atonis and Skirmish Games next week. But yeah, so it'll be the week after that I try and do a bonus stream then. And also, there's a few things that I want to get together. Definitely want to do a video on new players joining Blood Angels. Definitely want to do a comparison on Leviathan Dreadnoughts with the changes. And I think I also want to do a video on like secondaries and deployments, because I guess I think there's a lot of information that I can give out on secondaries and deployments, and I guess maybe get more people on board with picking infiltrators and incursors and the strength of those over like our regular intercessors. I guess very few people pick tactical marines these days, but yeah, I mean that's where it stands. So yeah, thank you very much for the kind comments in the chat. I really appreciate you guys all tuning in every week. It means a lot, and it's nice to. I mean, I've learned with myself so much since I started this channel, and I think that my friends are maybe annoyed now, and that like I literally win every game I play against them. I think I'm playing a Death Guard tomorrow, and I think probably gonna win that game again. So, or win again. And yeah, I mean, I guess there's a lot to learn. There's a lot of options that we have right now. And yeah, every week, if you guys ever want to see any stats compared or anything like that, if there's a unit that you're really confused about picking, you know, like I think we'll try and include Eradicators this week, because a lot of lists include Eradicators. So we'll compare Eradicators to a couple of different units, yeah, hopefully it'll let you see what is a good heavy support choice. And yeah, thank you everybody for tuning in again. Alright, if you're new here and you haven't subscribed, then I guess this is the time to find and hit that nice big red subscribe button. New content every week. And if not, then I guess I will see you guys. I think I'm doing something on Tuesday this week. So hopefully I'll catch you there on Tuesday, and if not, and you want to just have any sort of question, good. Right, so before I go then, units that we need to compare next. We want to see Eradicators, we want to see Plasma Inceptors. I think we want to see the Redemptor Dread, and I think we want to see the Leviathan. And is there one other like heavy support choice that people like? I don't want to do something that no one's picking, like a Predator or some crap like that. Like it needs to be. Saying that, I think it was last week, right? We got 3 lists in a row with Predators in them, and I was like, "All right, you guys are starting to take the piss here." Like, there's been no list with Predators for a million. What about Repulsor Executioner? People are taking Executioners, or somebody asked in the Facebook group this week about an Executioner. So if I just compared all those units, we math hammer the crap out of them, see what's survivable, what's doing damage, and then maybe like how they. Someone asked me before to do like a comparison of like how survivable it is on points cost. I'm not sure how we do that, but I mean, I guess that would be the challenge for this week. So something like that. Eradicators are always at the take. They are the best. Alright, or they are beast. I guess we will find out if they are the beast / best next Friday. This will be what's coming in the video. We will compare these 5 units, try and make some sort of nice slideshow, and comparison is what I'll save it as. So I guess that's what you got to look forward to, and then in future army lists, when we're talking on the weekend, we can basically say, go watch the video because we already did the math. Alright guys, I hope you all have a great rest of the weekend. Thanks again for being here. Devastators with various loadouts. I'm trying to. It's going to be this is going to be a lot of work. These 5. I'll put maybe Devastators. Maybe. We'll see how much time it takes. I mean, I have a day job as well, and the week before Christmas is crazy busy. So, okay. Well, yeah. I mean, so I guess have a great weekend, everybody, and hopefully I will see you guys all soon. And yeah, I mean, if you're not in the Facebook group already, come join us on Facebook, and we chat in there pretty much all the time. You want to see both choices. You guys are just... The longer I stay in, the bigger this video is going to be next week. Jeez, okay. Alright, I will try. Promise. Great. So, yeah. Have a nice Sunday. I will catch you all very, very soon. By the blood are we made. Peace.